Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. You didn't hear that. Now you're going to hear it. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So my phone is not charged. Sometimes when I charge my phone, I don't know why, we get noise on the audio. So please let me know if we're getting any noise. Otherwise, I'm using a very good setup, so the audio should be very, very good. Hare Krishna. And today, this is number 5 in the series of the 10 things that ineffective people do or unsuccessful people do. And of course, this is just a reverse way of explaining what to do, but sometimes I find it's easier to understand what not to do because we're good at doing the wrong things. Okay, so I have some curtains up today because at this time of day the sun is shooting in. These are not the curtains we're going to keep. This is temporary. The sun comes blasting in, and it's better lighting when we don't have the sun. Okay? Sound good? I'm very much into lighting, even though I'm so effulgent anyway. But still, sometimes we need a little more light just to help us, right? Okay, so this topic is interesting because it's a topic we discussed at length in Mayapur. For the last 2 years at the Mayapur retreat, we discussed this topic. So this is a topic about suppressing emotions and running away from problems. And so let me read number 4. Well, this is number 5, and it's up there. Sundari Radha put it up there. So if you go back up to Sundari Radha, you will see. I will read this. This is number 5, dysfunction or action of a highly ineffective person. You suppress emotions and run away from your problems. And then my little explanation. The only way out of a problem is through it. What you most resist is what you most need to work on. Whatever you bury in your heart, you bury alive. This is important. Whatever you bury in your heart, you bury alive. And these emotions or problems continue to negatively impact you. So this is a problem I'm very familiar with because I did this for so many years. Okay, now if I move over, this is a new bookshelf, you might notice. It's a new scene. And you see behind me I have a plant. So if I sit here, you can study all the books I have. It goes all the way to the floor. And I've read most of them. And only about 20% are purely Krishna conscious. And you're thinking, why do I have all these other books? So this is what I was doing about 15 years ago. I was studying these other books to understand a little more about dysfunction, basically, in psychology, so that I could help you. So I did the austerity, having to read a lot, and then encapsulate it in a Krishna conscious context for you, so that you don't have to read all these books necessarily. It was an austerity that I did for you. And definitely was an austerity at a certain point, because we'd rather be reading Krishna conscious books. The top shelf is Krishna conscious. The next shelf is, you want to know what's on there, don't you? Okay. You can't see unless you zoom in. On the top shelf, on the end, I guess I don't know if it's the right end for you or the left end. See those notebooks? There's 2 notebooks. Let me show them to you. This is interesting. This is a little behind the scenes. Okay, these are notebooks, these covers. I picked them up somewhere, like when we used to distribute books at flea markets, swap meets. People would sell things, and I saw these books. Inside this book, this is an interesting book. If I leave my body tonight, then some of you can come over and get it. This book is interesting. And I think we should do something with it. In fact, I think maybe we should read from it. This would be so interesting. These are my realizations from 1972, 73, and 74. This whole book. I used to write all the time. This is a lot. This is a lot here. It's realizations. Don't you think it would be interesting to read my realizations after I was like a devotee, 2 years old? It would be 2 years in the movement. It would be, it's just like, I was actually thinking maybe we should type it and publish it. It would be so interesting to read the realizations of someone who just joined. But I think, I don't know. I think maybe, I don't know. Maybe when we finish this series, or we're putting up a Patreon page. Maybe I'll read this on the Patreon page. Mahatma's realizations when he was 22. Hare Krishna. That would be interesting, don't you think? And this book, it's another notebook I bought. Not leather, it looks like it. These are class notes up till about 1975, 1976. Class notes for my reading. Not class notes from attending classes and for my reading of Shastra, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Oh, then, like, I took notes in every class. You know, I just cleaned everything up the last few days so I could get everything organized. You can't see it, but look at, you go all the way down to the floor. And this is, we have more books inside the house. This is just like functional, what I need for my service. So then I have to show you something else. It's amazing. The box. What is the box? Let me show you the box. Can you see the box? Like, what is this? These are shlokas. And back in the day, before computers, they had these cards. And these cards have holes in them. You see? And they have, I don't even think I have the stick. And each hole represents a category. Wow. I have the categories here. Each hole represents a category of verses that fall into this category. So I don't know if you can understand this, but we take a card. This is what we did as brahmacharis. You see all the holes? They're all numbered. So you get a verse and you think, and I have all these categories. I think, well, what categories did this verse go in? And I say, well, it looks like it goes in category 14 and 18 and 30. So then you cut 14, 18, and 30. You cut it out with this. You're going back to the 70s before computers. You cut it out with this. So it's like this. Why do you cut it out? And unfortunately, I think I'm missing the way this thing works. There was a metal piece, a little metal stick. I'm trying to find it. The metal stick's not here. It kind of like the whole. I'm sure this company does not exist anymore. I don't see the metal stick. I'd have to get another one. It's like a metal stick this long, and then you line up all your cards, and then you put the stick through it, and wherever that hole is, the card falls out. And then you pull all the cards out, and then you get all the shlokas for that topic. That's how you got all the shlokas categorized in that topic. What do you think of that? This is like going back to the Stone Age, right? Look at this box. These are all shlokas that I was learning. That's just a third of it, a quarter of it. All shlokas. See how we did it? We photocopied all the shlokas. We pasted them on the cards. We were shloka-wallas. We were really into shlokas. In fact, when I was doing this, I could quote so many shlokas that I could put any audience to sleep with shlokas. Because I noticed if I quoted too many shlokas, people started like looking like they were watching a boring movie. And they're really spacing out. But I was really into shlokas. That's what this box is, and I've never gotten rid of it. My friend, he made a box, and I made a box. And I had this box with me in Mauritius in 1982, and someone stole it out of the car because I guess they thought it was cassettes or something, or money. And I was like completely freaked out. I'd spent months making it. I was so depressed, and my friend gave me his shlokas. Here they are. What a collector's item, huh? Okay, to the highest bidder, do I hear 10,000 gold coins, 20,000 gold coins? Who wants it? So this is amazing. I was just thinking today, I have this really excellent recording setup. I should record shlokas with a little tambura, and we should all learn. We should all learn all these shlokas. Gita, Bhagavatam, CC, other shastras. These are the ones, my favorites, and the ones Prabhupada chanted. So, that's what's here. Okay. So, we have, if you go to the top shelf, it's all Krishna conscious books. If you go to the next, on the left, it's all about marriage. You go next to that, it's all about forgiveness. Next to that is a company I studied with on self-development, all their books. And then you go various spiritual books that I read to study what other people are teaching. You have one on sexual purity, the Course in Miracles, like all these other things. I wanted to see what they were teaching, similarities, and see if there's any insights. It was interesting because sometimes, most of the time, whatever they're teaching, it's in our scripture, but they teach it in a different way, and it would make me realize, oh yeah, that's in our books. We don't explain it that way. It's an interesting way they explain it. And then I have, all these books on, like 6 books on forgiveness, 5, 6 books on marriage, these other spiritual books. And then on the bottom, the next shelf, it's all self-development books. I was studying this for a few years to incorporate that into Krishna consciousness. On the bottom books are all about how to run companies, run teams, and how to make money. I didn't do so good on the money part. I have the books, but I never read them. It's also how to run a church, the purpose-driven church, the purpose-driven life, and all these books on grammar. And on the bottom, these are all, you see those folders? It's all from all the workshops that I either taught or attended. And there's 2 plants that Kosha Rupa left when she stayed here with Badahari. And there you are. That's the tour. You got to see the tour. I want to tell you something really interesting that I heard today. I was, as some of you know, on Saturday and Sunday I decided not to give class in the morning because I needed that time to work on my book, and I have to work on it early in the morning. I was just to get up and focus on it when the morning is quiet. So I did that this morning, and then we were looking for a quote because we want to verify where everything's coming from. And there's this quote about what happened with the Amish people when there was a shooting in their school and how they forgave, and I was trying to find the quote. And then I came across this. In trying to find it, I found something else. I came across this interview. There was after, I don't know if you know what happened, but there's this religious community called the Amish. I call them the Omish, but they don't really chant Om. So Amish, yeah. So there was a really unfortunate incident where there was a shooting and I think 6 girls were shot. 10 were shot and 6 died, 5 or 6 died. And then the man who shot them was crazy. He killed himself. And then a few hours later, some of the parents went to the wife and said, we forgive your husband, we forgive you, like that. And so it was a big thing. The killing was a big thing, but it was maybe even a bigger thing was the forgiveness. And so there was a lot of coverage on that. And this article I read, it was incredible. I think I should post it. I was just breezing through it. I haven't had time to read it all. Maybe I'll post it. And I just read a few things, completely amazing things about forgiveness. And everyone was amazed that right after the shooting, practically right after the shooting, a few hours later, they went and offered forgiveness. to this man via via his wife, because he had killed himself. And so they understood she was obviously suffering. And when they were interviewed, the people who were interviewing them were saying, it's amazing that in such a short time you forgave them. For many of us, probably we would never forgive them in our whole life. How could you do it so quickly? And one grandmother said, oh, we already forgave him before it happened. Wow. That's it. That's it right there. That says everything. We already forgave him before it happened. And so what does that mean? Because we're forgiving people. So we're already forgiving before whatever happens. We've already forgiven it. Isn't that beautiful? How could you do it so quickly? Oh, we already did it before he came. That's what it means to live your philosophy. But another person said, well, the reason they could do that is because that's, it's built into their practice. You could say for hundreds of years they've been practicing for that, but that's what they do. And then they asked another woman, I have to go over it, but it sounded like it was a young woman. And same question, like, how could you do this? What's your view on forgiveness? You forgave so easily. And she said something like, resentment is a poison that will destroy the cup that holds it. Resentment is a poison that will destroy the cup that holds it. I thought, wow, that just like succinctly describes the effects of resentment. The cup is the heart. The cup is the person who's holding the resentment. Resentment is a poison that will destroy the cup. And then I thought, well, you could substitute other things. Anger is a poison. Lying is a poison. So many things are poison. So many qualities. I don't know if the quality is the word. Resentment is not a quality. What would you call resentment? You can't call the quality of resentment. The characteristic. What's the word I'm looking for? The quality of resentment. Maybe grammatically it's right, but it sounds wrong. But so many anarthas are poison that will destroy the container. So I just thought that was a beautiful thought, and I wanted to relate that to you. Okay, so are you ready now? We'll get on with today's discussion. That was just entertainment. I was thinking, in the morning classes, we came up with a title because I've been very comedic. We're turning everything, our philosophy, into a lot of fun, a lot of jokes, and so forth. And they were saying, laugh. The show we should change it from Srimad Bhagavatam class. We were calling it Bhagavatam class to laugh your way back to Godhead, or laughing your way back to Godhead. Then a devotee wrote me a letter, and he mentioned some things that I had said that were helping him. And he said I had talked about managing Maya. I thought, well, that's a good title also for a series, like a show, Managing Maya. How well are you managing Maya? Prabhus, Matajis, I have a question for you. Today, how well did you manage Maya? How well are you managing right now? How well are you going to manage? And then I came up with another one. Either you'll manage Maya or Maya will manage. That's right. You. Either you'll manage Maya or Maya will manage you. Those are what freedom, what independence do we have? You have two choices, to manage Maya or be managed by Maya. That's the only choice I have. That's it. That's all. You can make choices that you think you're making, but Maya's just managing those choices. Okay. I'll just mention this to you because it's on my mind. He said that when he would fail in doing something, he'd get really depressed. And then he said that the thing that helped me is that you said it's not where you're at now is not as important as where you're going. So I came up with another mantra. And it goes like this. Don't worry so much about where you're at. Worry about where you're going. That is like, it's so simple and it's just common sense. But a lot of us are worried about where we're at. And that'll come up in today's class about, not facing the dirt, the gunk, the darkness, because it's depressing. But that's not really the problem. The problem is we should worry about where we're going, not what's going on now. Like if you're out of shape. I started doing a lot of writing 10, 15 years ago. That's when my body kind of turned into jello because I was sitting so much. I wasn't used to sitting that much. I try to move my body a little bit, but a lot of writing. So I was turning into a lot of jello. And so even though I'm turning into jello, what's jello? Like this is, and you're all looking at me and you go, you have no jello. Yeah, that's true. I don't have much. But even if your body's turning into jello, you could start exercising. Even people my age, sometimes at exercise, they're like, they look like younger men. So it's not so important. The biggest problem is not where you're at. The biggest problem is where you're going, where you're going to end up, right? That's not the biggest, what did I say? That's what you may not be in shape today. It doesn't mean you can't be in shape tomorrow. And how badly you're in shape today does have some effect, but ultimately, if you apply yourself, exercise, pretty soon, you'll be like amazingly in shape, even though you're an old man like me. Well past the golden years, into the twilight years. In a few days, I'll be going into the twilight of my life. Eternally trying to stay young. Never giving up. Always thinking like a young man. Looking forward to a bright future. It's always going to be better. Be optimistic. I may not be 100% Krishna conscious today, but there's tomorrow. It could happen tomorrow. I could cry and faint during japa tomorrow morning. It could happen, right? That's how we have to think. At least that's where I want to go. That's what I want to happen, right? And so why should I give up? Because it hasn't happened yet. That's the way we have to think. Yes? You agree? If you don't agree, get out of this class. You must agree with me. No, you can disagree. It's okay. But you have to have a shloka if you don't agree. It seems that Prabhupada was totally seeing us in terms of the potential that Krishna consciousness could give us. Because if he saw us as we were, he would have, as soon as he saw us, he would have said, "Oh my Govinda," and jumped on the next boat back to India. Because he saw kind of like a bunch of savages, basically, uncivilized people. He didn't see that. He saw potential. He saw sincerity. These boys are sincere. They're asking good questions, boys and girls. They want to know about Krishna. Prabhupada was so encouraged. If you read his letters in the early days, he was so encouraged. But if you look at it objectively, it's like, I don't know why he would be so encouraged, because these people are very conditioned. That'll be a polite word. They're very conditioned. But he was enthusiastic because he saw the potential. And when any of us made mistakes, he always saw us in terms of our potential, not in terms of where we're at. And so therefore I would say he didn't want us to see or lament about where we're at. He wanted us to be optimistic about the future, because in Krishna consciousness, the future is very optimistic. Because if you keep doing the process, it can only get better. Even if it's slow, at least you will progress. And at least you say, well, I'm not progressing that much. Well, at least if you can stay out of Maya, then that's progress, right? You may think you're just treading water, but at least your head's above water, so you can be saved by your sika or your ponytail, or in my case, I'll need some help. Hare Krishna. So, yes, okay. So today we're going to go, it was a kind of a little something about today. So a little lead into today, don't suppress, don't run away. And so my first thought on this, although I've talked about this, is the first thought, which is a different thought than what I've normally taught. And if you go to on SoundCloud, the 3 relationships, this is a recording of the whole retreat, which is all about facing your stuff. Prabhu, face your stuff. You know what your stuff is. So I was thinking of a story. I wasn't there, but I heard the story that one morning walk, sometimes Prabhupada was like getting in this mood when things weren't going well, that he would chastise, because we tend to be, as we said last in one class, I don't know if you were there, la-di-da. La-di-da means like whatever. We tend to be whatever Babas. Prabhu, when are you going to do it? Whatever Baba. It's like, I'll do it when I do it. Don't worry, it'll get done. Whenever. How are you going to do it? Whatever, we'll figure it out. So sometimes when things were going like that, Prabhupada knew that if he wasn't heavy with us, it would just stay like that. It would just go like that kind of forever. Have you ever seen love bugs? Would you like to see them? Oops. They're 2 bugs that always go everywhere together. They're attached. They're 2 separate entities, but they stay together. It's amazing. That's what happens if you become too attached to your husband or wife. You become a love bug in your next life. So be careful. Unless your husband or wife is a pure devotee, then probably you won't become a love bug. But if they're not, you could. I would love to show them to you. Maybe they'll show up again, but they're kind of afraid if I try to pick them up. So Prabhupada was on a walk and he was chastising. Why this? Why that? Why you're not overseeing this? Who's in charge of this? So usually, I don't know if you've ever seen morning walks, but usually on the morning walk, everyone wants to get close to Prabhupada to hear what he's saying. We're all like this, like our ears, You know that picture with me in the center? Prabhupada's there, Prabhupada's laughing, everybody's laughing. Almost everyone's laughing. Few didn't hear the joke. Trivikram Maharaj is there. Hridayananda Maharaj is partially there. Dhanavir Maharaj. Rameshwar is partially there. And Prabhupada is making a joke. And everyone is laughing. You just want to be as close as you can. You just want to hear everything that Prabhupada's saying, because everything he's saying is amazing. And this day when Prabhupada was chastising, everybody was like going to the back. Hare Krishna. Instead of going to the front, they go, okay, this is like a little heavy. I'll just walk in the back this morning. Because if I get to the front, who's ever in front is going to get chastised. So I was thinking about this and thinking, nobody likes problems. Nobody likes to deal with problems. Nobody likes to feel bad. Everybody just wants everything like nice. And that's why in marriage, men hate it when the wife say, we have to talk, because the men are thinking everything's fine, You haven't bothered me. I haven't bothered you in like weeks. Now we have to talk. Oh my God. It's like, that means something's wrong. So it's human psychology. It's just like, you want everything to just be peaceful and flowing. And if something's wrong, it's like, do we have to talk about it really? Can't we just kind of let it go? That's human nature. So that's why this is a bit of a problem, because it's so ingrained within us to avoid pain. And so anything that's painful, we rather kind of just like, do I have to deal with it? You really need to go to the dentist and have a checkup. Do I have to? I mean, there's no pain. No, you should do it every year. But what if I go to the dentist and he says I have to have a tooth pulled? I'd rather not go. Have you ever thought like that? Like, I don't want to go because he might find something wrong and I don't want my tooth pulled. He'll say I need a filling or worse, a root canal. So, I'll go next week. I'll go next month. There's no problem. I brush my teeth every day. That's so normal. That's so natural. But you will find with successful people, they're pretty much the opposite of that. It's like they want to find out what's wrong. They want to find out what's wrong so they can do something. So you take a devotee And the devotee's mood is, Krishna, reveal to me what's the next step. Reveal to me how I have to improve. I mean, if you're a pure devotee, or if you're advancing, or if you're in the right consciousness, that's how you think. But there's this other trap. If you don't manage Maya, Maya will manage you. The other trap is, some reason, some excuse why we don't want to deal with it. It's okay, everything's fine, I don't have to deal with it. When in fact, it's not fine. Let's just assume you're in a situation, it's not fine. But it's just natural human psychology. No, everything's fine. We think it's fine because, I'm still breathing. And, I chanted my rounds today. Yeah, maybe they weren't that good, but still I did it. And I read for 10 minutes, and I offered all my prasadam. Well, most of it I offered. I forgot to offer the dessert, but that's not a big thing. It's like, everything's kind of like, it's okay. I'm still here, I'm still breathing, I'm still chanting. But that's not the way a devotee who's more serious about advancing thinks. Devotee who's advancing thinks, okay, what is that thing I need to deal with? What is it? What's the next step? What's the next level? How do I get from here to here? Now, what's interesting about that is if you study successful people, they have a certain mindset. And the mindset is basically, do the best you can. I mean, the Rajasic mindset is outdo everybody. The more sattvic mindset is do the best you can do. It's not about being better than everybody. It's just about do the best you can do. And the tamasic mindset is everything is okay the way it is. You're doing your best. And that it might be true to some extent that everything is okay the way it is, and you may be doing your best. But the people who are more successful are more in the mood of, what can we do better? Everything is good. What can we do better? I came across this by accident, this interview with what's his name? Kevin Hart. He's a comedian. And he comes from very humble background. That's another word of saying his family was poor, that they were struggling. And his mother said, he wanted to be a comedian, and his mother said, well, just do the best you can do. Just do your best. And she said, I will support you in your career as a comedian. You just do your best. So that's the mood of a successful person. So he was saying, I took that to heart. Whatever I did, I always tried to do my best. And so that's true, whether it's material or spiritual. It's the same process. It's just applied in Krishna consciousness. So you'll find that this is one difference between successful people and people who aren't that successful, or people who fail. The ones who are the most successful, they're always, okay, where can we go from here? What's next? What's the next step up? How can I do better? And you'll see this in any devotee who's advancing in Krishna consciousness. It's always very progressive. And you'll see that those who are not doing well in Krishna consciousness, it's always like, they may say I'm doing my best, but it's often just an excuse. They're really not doing their best. It's just a way to pacify them so they don't feel bad about themselves when they're not really trying. And we know that when we're really into something, we really want to do it well. We start splitting hairs. We really want to make it perfect, isn't it? If you're an artist, or a musician, or a writer, you'll edit. You'll redraw. You'll rewrite. You'll re-record. You just want to make it perfect. And that mentality, if we can transfer that into Krishna consciousness, then that's perfect. And I know a lot of you actually have. What's so interesting, and I haven't figured this one out yet, because it doesn't make sense to me. But maybe we can figure it out philosophically. It seems to be a real trick of mine. Some of you, I know, you have this nature that everything you do well. You really try. And then in Krishna consciousness, you hit a point and you kind of just fizzle out, like the air out of the tire. You were fired up when you were young. And now, the tire is flat. And it's so interesting. It has to be one of the ultimate tricks of Maya, that you kind of are resigned that I'm just not going to have a high level of Krishna consciousness. So we understand Maya is always going to try to divert you. We understand Krishna consciousness is always not so easy. But that same mentality, be successful. There was one devotee, and she's very successful materially, like extremely successful. And I was telling her, and she thinks like huge, like number one, like, number one successful in her field, super, does everything really well. And I was saying, since you have that nature, all you have to do is apply that nature to Krishna. Use that same parameter, that context that you function in the material world, apply it to Krishna. And I think sometimes we do it materially, but we don't apply it spiritually, which is unfortunate. I was with some Indians. This was maybe 10, 12 years ago. I was traveling. And at that time I had maybe 15, maybe even 20 now. Yeah, it could even be 20, yeah, because we're 2020, yeah. So probably it's a good 15 years, I think. So I used to travel in the summer to New York, and I was doing art shows. And so there were a lot of art shows in Florida. By the end of April, it's too hot. So most of the artists come down. If they live up north, they come down to Florida in the winter. If they live in Florida, they go up north in the summer. So I was doing a couple shows every year in this one city, so I got to know the devotees, stay with them, do programs. So one night we were doing a program. And as you may know, in America, the Indians, at least at this time, were the wealthiest or most successful minority, probably even more so now with all the IT. The most successful minority in America, other minority groups, whatever they are, Latinos, Chinese, Asian, Russian, whatever they are. Indians were number one successful. And to be working in America, if you're Indian, requires generally that you're a super good student, you excelled, and therefore these companies, American companies, hired you. And you have to have certain level of education and so forth to be able to get your residence in America. So most of the Indians, if you see Indians born in India living in America, it means they're up there. That means they really tried. As far as I understand, they went to some really good schools. It was hard to get in. They excelled in the school. Just to get in was hard. Then they excelled in the school, and they got jobs in America. That means these companies were picking them because of their qualifications, so highly qualified. And it dawned on me, because when I was talking to them, that they are way, way more interested in spiritual advancement, in material success than they are in spiritual advancement. And I was telling them, as I was looking at them, I was saying, you were so successful, and I know what you had to go through to be successful. You had to go through a lot. You really did. 100% fact, you had to go through a lot. And if you did the same thing for your spiritual life, you would be so Krishna conscious, that same determination. So what happens is, it's like they have that nature to be determined. But then they put all that energy into material advancement, and then their spiritual life is kind of like, yeah, it's important, but not that important. So it's unfortunate because they have the potential to be successful, but they don't think Krishna consciousness is important enough to give that much time and energy and effort to. So if you have the potential to be materially successful and you apply that same enthusiasm, determination, and whatever you apply to become successful, you'll be very Krishna conscious. So really well, if you want something, like in this case, when Indians come to America, generally they're coming to achieve a position of material success they could not achieve in India, and it's very important to them. And they will do a lot of austerity to get it, for sure. Going to school, working their way up, whatever they have to do, they will do it. And they're always, I've been around the Indians, so I can say, it's not a criticism, it's just a description, because I see and they tell me. They work certain jobs, they have a strategy how they'll from this job, they'll excel and they'll get hired in another company at a higher level, and they'll just work their way up. Because the higher you work up, the more you get paid, and the sooner you can retire. So it makes sense. And so they're at least the ones that I was around, the successful ones, they were always calculating what's the next step. What's the next step? What's the next step? And if you're Indian watching this, let me know if that's true. If you're Indian, are you still awake? Yeah. It's not that late in India, is it? Or is it? Yeah, you're probably sleeping. Yeah. Well, you're probably just getting up now, so there may not be many Indians watching. But I can verify it that this is generally true. So, they're always thinking how it's not like dedicating yourself to one company. How can I work in this company in a way that I can get a better job in a better company until you hit that company you want to be in, and then how can I move up? That's how we're supposed to think spiritually. Okay, how can I get to the next level? What's the next step? So you can see this dysfunction is basically the opposite. It's like the next step is often uncomfortable. It's often difficult. I mean, the next step may be, okay, well, the next step is you have to examine yourself, you have to understand your faults, etc. That's going to be the next step. So that's not always easy, right? So, as we were saying, it's just much easier just not to take the next step, right? Isn't it? Okay, hold on. The sun is now setting in the west, which means it's right in our eyes. Okay, a little better. So this is what we're up against. So let's go back to that quote about resentment. Resentment is a poison that destroys the cup that holds it. And so I'm going to read what I just said. Whatever you bury in your heart, you bury alive, and these emotions or problems continue to negatively impact you. So when you hold it in, it doesn't die inside you. It's such a beautiful vision, isn't it? Okay, I have a problem. I'm not dealing with it. I'm holding it inside. I'm repressing it or suppressing it, and just I take it outside and bury it somewhere. You can't bury it outside of you. Even if you think you buried it outside of you, you're connected emotionally to that problem. No, I took it out. It's in the closet. I locked the door. No, you're connected to it. It's your problem. So it's still alive and it's still working. And so it doesn't make sense to not deal with it because it's working on us in a negative way, right? Now, let's look at this in another way. You have the story of the cleaning of the Marjanam, the cleaning of the Gundicha temple. And so in that story, they're cleaning straw and dirt and whatever, and the Prabhupada was saying all the things they're cleaning represent their anarthas. And so that is the Vaishnava philosophy, cleaning the anarthas, pulling the weeds, cleaning, sweeping, that, and obviously you have to see it to sweep it, right? You have to look at it. So that is part of the process. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said that humility means to see what's wrong. And I said, we have to be able to see what's wrong without being discouraged, without losing our enthusiasm. There's a quote, I don't know if any of you have that quote, about we have to see the fall without losing our self-esteem, without being discouraged and having inspiration. It's in the Living of the Wisdom. I was just reading it online. I'm so amazed. Every time I read that quote comes up. Do any of you know that quote? Because Krishna definitely inspired me. It's a sutra. It contains the exact formula of how we have to look at our faults and protect ourselves from not becoming discouraged at the same time. So, yeah. Yes. the other, that's one of the hurdles. Okay, how I have to look at them. How am I going to look at them? And this is a question I'm just going to throw at you. I don't want to give the answer right now. How can I look at them in a way that I can deal with them, not become discouraged, acknowledge them, not lose my self-esteem, not lose my enthusiasm, and Radha is going to come and take my notebooks. She had to come one night when I'm not looking, climb through the window. You understand what I'm saying, right? How can we, have the stamina, the fearlessness, the humility to look at what we need to look at, deal with what we need to deal with? And one of the ways that I've come to understand this, and this is kind of interesting, and I don't know if women deal with it this way, but I've seen a lot of men deal with it this way. Yes. Michael says, I'm young. Yes, I'm very young. Eternally young. This is at least how I've seen it in myself, and I've noticed this in other devotees. One very important principle of Krishna consciousness is to control our mind and senses, correct? That's obvious, and that's you're struggling with that, you're learning that from day one when you become a devotee, right? That's really one of the big things. You have to deal with this. So I think a lot of us equate emotional control with sense control. So if there's any emotion that we think is improper, toxic, and so forth, like resentment or lust or greed or envy, there's this natural tendency in the name of controlling it to suppress it. Because dealing with emotions is a little different than dealing with other things. So let's say I have a desire or a thought or something that's bad. I try to change my thinking, kick it out, bang my head with a broomstick, wherever the mind wanders, bring it back to Krishna. But emotions are a little different. And the problem is, in trying to get rid of emotions, oftentimes when you're seeing it like it's a bad thought or a bad desire, so you just try to suppress it, when all you've done is just bury it, you haven't actually transcended it, because it's a little different dealing with emotions. The way you work through emotions is a little different in that you face them and you feel them, which most of us intuitively, at least the men, think, well, why would I want to feel it? I want to detach from it. Okay, that's there also. But often you can't detach from it until you experience it. So being raised as good devotees, trying to control ourselves, that one of the things we do sometimes in the name of sense control, mind control, and emotional control is to suppress emotions. So we think we're transcending or going around or going over or going under or healing, but we end up actually suppressing. We're not actually detached. We've just suppressed it. So we don't feel it at the moment, or at least consciously feel it. So we think we're detached. But the problem is there. In the class on Thursday mornings, we're reading from a letter in which a young devotee wanted to take sannyas, and Prabhupada could understand he wasn't ready. So indirectly, Prabhupada was saying, you're not qualified. In other words, you don't know how to gauge your own Krishna consciousness. You think you're more transcendental than you are. So I think a lot of times we're good at suppressing emotions, and when we're good at it, it makes us think, I'm transcendental, I'm detached. When in fact, all we've done is pushed it down to a level where we're not consciously aware of it or consciously experiencing it, and then we think it's gone, but it's not gone. And we've talked about this, and you've seen this, the man who leaves his wife in the name of renunciation, who gets married again 5 years later. So it was a miscalculation. He did not confront the emotion. He did not confront what he needed, where he was at, and so forth. So that's one of the problems of suppressing or repressing emotion, is that you don't really understand where you're at, because emotions often are often like gauges to let you know where you're at. And if you allow yourself to feel them, it helps you understand what your next step is, what you need to do. The other thought, and this is also experience, that some problems are very difficult to deal with. And I don't mean difficult physically to do, I mean difficult to face. Just like there's things I have to do, and I'm sure you have this also. Like certain things I don't like doing, so I just keep putting them off. And once I finally deal with them, although I put it off for weeks, it only took like an hour or two, and it wasn't that hard. It was just I had to investigate some things, look through my files, find things, find numbers, put things in a folder, send them off like that, calculate. But just the thought of doing it is so unpleasant that I'd rather do something I like. So I just don't do it because the feeling's unpleasant. It's just like if you've hurt somebody and I say you should apologize to them, and it's like really hard for you. You won't want to do it, even though all you have to do is just write an email and say, I'm sorry for what I did. I realized I did something wrong. It's like it takes you like 3 minutes to write it, and as soon as you write it, you're like, oh, what a relief, I did it. But to get you to that point to do it could take months, years, although it only took you 3 minutes, and once you do it, you realize it wasn't that hard. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's the anticipation of, or what you start feeling when you think about it. It's so unpleasant that you don't want to deal with it. And so one of the reasons we're not dealing with our problems is because there's so many unpleasant emotions around it. And one unpleasant emotion for a lot of you will be, I've tried this before and I failed. And I fail so often, and I don't even want to face that emotion anymore, failure. I feel like a big failure. So I don't want to try to improve myself in this area because I failed. I don't want to fail again. I can't fail again. I can't deal with failure. Or that could just be your programming. You're a perfectionist. You can't deal with failure. There's some uncomfortable feeling. I've been rejected before. I don't want to try to succeed at this. What if I'm rejected? That it's so painful. I'm just not going to do it. These are very common things. So there's a very, very important point that we have a problem, we don't face it, and we're wondering why. It's uncomfortable. At least we think it's uncomfortable. And most of the time when we actually face it, we realize it's not that uncomfortable. It wasn't that uncomfortable. It was a thought, a fear that it was going to be uncomfortable, or you talk to your husband or wife about a problem, and then after you do it, it's a big relief, but you thought, this is going to be difficult, my false ego is going to get bruised, whatever. So this is probably something that we are all dealing with all the time. Whenever you see procrastination, whenever you see yourself not doing something that ultimately doesn't take long, and instead you just sit back on YouTube and kind of just just watch it, and all of a sudden how half hour goes, hour and a half, and you're like, what did I just do? You could have done that thing you've been putting off since January 17th, 1992. You could have done it in that hour. That's all it takes. But that thought of doing it, that's where procrastination comes in. The thought of doing it is not that it's difficult. It might be a little difficult, but not that difficult. It's just the thought that it's unpleasant. I'd rather not do it. And then we end up doing something which is pleasant, which often is nothing, just watching something interesting on the YouTube. That it may be useful also for our service or just our general knowledge. But you see, there are so many little windows of opportunity of time that we didn't take advantage of, isn't it? That where we could have got this done. So that's why we didn't do it, because just the thought of doing it is like, feeling. It's emotion. It's like, I feel uncomfortable. I feel very uncomfortable now. I feel afraid. What if I can't do it? What if I fail? What if I can't find everything? What if it takes too long? What if? The problem is, if the problem is harming you, then to not deal with it is the worst thing, isn't it? It's like the worst thing you could do is to not deal with it. So that's the message of number 5. You see that successful people are willing, they're willing to undergo the austerity of whatever it is they have to undergo. Now let's look at japa. Sometimes japa is an austerity. It's an austerity to control the mind, because our minds are used to just kind of, the Beatles said, I think it was Marco who told me the song, turn off your mind, relax, and float downstream. I had the wrong name for that song. Okay. Marco, I'm going to test your knowledge by Googling this. That was the Beatles. And float downstream. Tomorrow, yeah, he was right. Tomorrow Never Knows. That's the song, Tomorrow Never Knows, from the Beatles' Revolver album, which came out when I was probably 16. Turn off your mind, relax, and float downstream. Lay down all thoughts, surrender to the void. Oh my God, it is shining. This is total impersonalism. You may see the meaning of within, it is being. The love is all and love is everyone. It is knowing. Oh my God, they're the wrong guru at that time. What a song. So, but it's a little bit like that. If, our minds are not used to being disciplined. Now you're all saying, get out your guitar and play that song. We want to hear it. Turn off your mind, relax, and float downstream. Yeah, it's just like, that's also, what you do when you take drugs. But the point is, that's what our mind's used to doing. It's just used to, like I was chanting Gayatri, my noon Gayatri. And I've been meditating, I've been reading about Gayatri and meditating about the Gayatri mantras and the meaning more deeply than probably I ever have in the 50 years I've been a devotee. And I've been saying in classes lately, and I've been teaching for years, that the way you chant mantras is to enter in the meaning. So I'm trying to go more deeply, meditating on what each word means, meditating on the esoteric meanings of the Gayatri mantras, feeling the presence of Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya and Krishna, Madan Mohan, Gopi, Gopinath. These are all deities of the mantra, Krishna and the gopis. So I'm going, meditating. And all of a sudden, my mind goes off to thinking about something I just bought, when it's coming, how I'm going to use it, what I can do with it. And then I catch myself after like 30 seconds and I think, what happened? I was chanting Gayatri, meditating on Krishna in the sun as the Surya Narayan, worshiping Krishna. And all of a sudden, instead of being with Krishna and Leela, I'm in my office envisioning how I'm going to set something up when I get it. Because I'm getting this little USB mixer, which means I can plug my phone in. So I could actually have music going on and turn it up. Welcome to Managing Maya with Mahatma Das. And then have my music. Just, for fun. A little radio show. And I just got something that's coming that can do that little USB mixer. And I'm thinking, all of a sudden, I went from Krishna Leela to USB mixer doing my podcast. And I caught myself, okay, back to Krishna Leela. So, okay, I'm back in, I'm in. Then we go to Prabhupada Gayatri Mantra. Prabhupada Bija Mantra, Prabhupada Gayatri. About halfway through Prabhupada Gayatri, I was back in my office doing my podcast. I was like, my God. And I'm reading this Gayatri book every day, so it's like, it's not in the back of my mind. It's like, look at the mind. Does it less in the morning, it does it more during the day, there's more passion. That's the nature of the mind, right? So you all know that sometimes when you're chanting, it's actually painful to chant. It's not actually painful to chant. It's actually painful to control the mind. And that's what you're supposed to do when you're chanting. And because it's painful to control the mind, chanting's painful. Okay, hold on a second. I have to put these books back because I want to line the books up because I'm looking at crooked books. And looking at crooked books is not good for the chakras. Hold on. Hold on, everybody. Don't go. Well, semi-crooked. The best I can do right now. Okay. Only semi-crooked. We'll get it better. You have bookends, don't worry. Tomorrow, the bookends will be up. So, so we're trying to chant. It's not like we don't like chanting. We just don't like controlling our mind. So sometimes before you chant, you have this experience where you're sitting and you're thinking, I don't want to chant because for the next 2 hours I have to control my mind. And some devotee's thinking, well, can I listen to a kirtan? Can I watch a YouTube video? It's just like, I don't want to control my mind. It's too painful. I'm not used to it. I got to do something while I chant. Can I go to the mall and go window shopping while I chant? Can I look through BTGs when I chant? Can I do anything? I'll do anything. Prabhu, I will do anything. Just don't make me sit down and just chant. I can't. It's so painful. Isn't it? Yes or yes? I got you on that one, right? I know. I have super soul vision. I can see you chanting japa every morning. I know you've been there. So that's the problem. It's painful to control the mind. It's not painful to chant japa. It's painful to control the mind. And we don't want to face painful experiences. So we can, okay, I'll chant later. That's enough. I chanted 8 rounds this morning. That's all I can take at one time. That was so hard. If I chant anymore now, I might do something strange. I might eat 10 chocolate bars if I have to keep chanting, or, I don't know, bang the walls. It's like that. So we have to be able to confront the painful experiences. We have to be able to go directly into them. That's what we have to learn. That's what successful people do. They don't run away from the pain. They don't run away from uncomfortable experiences. I think I told you before, I learned something that really helped me from a very, very successful person who was very close with some of the most successful writers and speakers in America, if not the world, like world famous. And he said, they all have fear. But the difference with successful people is they don't let the fear paralyze them. And the difference with unsuccessful people is they let the fear paralyze them. So it's not that the successful people don't have the fear. It's not that the successful people don't have the uncomfortable emotions. They do, but they don't let it paralyze them. They don't let themselves be controlled by it. They face it. They deal with it. So that's really, really important. And if there's any problem that you have that you're procrastinating on, you're not facing, just ask yourself, is it because this problem is surrounded by uncomfortable feelings and I don't want to experience them? And if that is the reason, then I would humbly request you walk right into that problem head on, because once you walk into it, you will only hurt for a minute and you will dissipate the uncomfortable feelings once you start working on it. And you're going to feel really good because you're working on it. Okay, I'm going to stop here and I'm going to take questions. That gives us 25 minutes for questions, so we'll see. So I think Krishna Karshani has the first question as far as I can tell. Michael Green's getting fired up more than ever. That's good. Let's go on Sankirtan, Michael. He's fired up. Well, we can't go out now. Now that they're distributing books. You know what I just read? So the Sankirtan devotees, they collect names. They meet interested people, they collect names. And a lot of the names were just sitting there. They never had time to follow up. And they're thinking, how are we going to distribute books now? So they're calling all these people. And they're distributing now thousands of books to all these people who got books, selling them more books, sending them packages of books. It's like it's amazing. There's like book distribution is still going on. Parananda, call up all the people that are interested. Krishna Karshana, get the list from the Woodstock and all the festivals in Poland. Call the people up and say, how are you doing? What's going on? We have some books for you. You could be distributing thousands of books. Hare Krishna. Amazing, huh? So, isn't that inspiring? In Gainesville, where they distribute prasadam every day on campus, the campus was closed, and they started distributing prasadam in hospitals. I don't know where else they're doing it. Also in front of the house. And, just devotees are being very creative. And as you know, so many kirtans are going on. I just did a kirtan today. That was a 108-hour kirtan from Mauritius. And Alachua, they just did or still doing a 108-hour kirtan. It's like crazy. And I listen to some videos. I get these videos of different sannyasis saying what they're doing. I say, well, we do, 3 hour and a half a japa in the morning, hour and a half in the japa eating. Then we're doing the Nectar Devotion series. Then we're doing class every morning. Then we're doing a seminar. Like everybody's like Hare Krishna. Everybody's just like doing so much. So ingenuity, when you're up against the wall, you have to find new ways to do things. So that's inspiring. That's just a side point, how they're distributing books now. Or even if it's not books, if you have names of people are home now, they're online. I was trying to figure out why I'm so busy now. And I couldn't figure, why am I so busy? And I figured out why. Because everybody's home, most people aren't working. So normally when I ask devotees to work on something, they get back to me like 3 weeks, 6 weeks. So I've got all these people working on things and it trickles in. Now everybody's like doing everything like the next day. So my email box is packed. My WhatsApp is packed. What do I do next? I just worked on this. Can you look at this? This is okay. And I'm just like, it's just coming at me because everybody's home and they have time. So now, if you have contact lists of names, then now's the time to contact them because I get more emails now, more correspondence because everybody's home. They have more time. Go back to work, everyone. Leave me alone, please. All I need is like 3 other people to read and answer everything for me. Then but it's good. I had never had devotees so on top of things, working so well now. So all these people are around. Contact them. Get your list out. Start calling and writing. This is the time. They're home. They're waiting for you. Before lockdown ends, now's the time. You can preach to them, distribute books, and so on. So, Krishna Karshani says, I'm wondering why we as devotees often are very determined in achieving material goals, but not that determined in programming spirituality. It doesn't make any sense. It's supposed to be opposite, right? Yeah. Well, my famous answer to a question like that, and this is a joke, but there's truth to it, and it sounds offensive. And when I get questions like that, I just say, that's another name for stupid. And of course, we're just making light of this, but that's how I like to think. You ever done something stupid? Of course. And after doing something stupid, have you ever told yourself, that was stupid? Why did I do that? That was so stupid. I mean, we all do stupid things. We just don't think, right? Like, I'm famous, my wife will tell you, for heating something up, putting a pot on the stove with some tea, water, heating it up, and then going in my room to do some things while it's heating up and totally forgetting that it's heating up until I smell the burning pot with nothing left in it, like the water's gone or I smell the burning oatmeal. I'm famous for that, and I think. And I have a mantra. When you do something stupid, you get a stupid result. You ever had that experience? You just did something stupid and then you got a result Like, okay, I'll be cleaning that pot for like the next 6 hours. You do something stupid, well, you get a stupid result. So I like to think this way. When we look at this conundrum, this paradox, then the only answer is, something's not working up here. Tighten the screws, tighten the bolts, oil the machinery, get a tune-up, charge the battery. Something's not working. Prabhupada is giving everything, but something's not working. So we've been talking about this in the morning classes, that Maya has her plan to totally bamboozle and confuse you and distract you and pull you off the path. And Prabhupada in his books is explaining this is exactly what Maya is going to do. She's going to pull you this way, pull you that way, do this and do that. So we know what she's going to do. So there's no excuse to give in to her because you're already forewarned. It's not like, I didn't know. Like you go to India, right? First time in India, what Prabhupada called, you're the damn cheap Baba. You go to India, you go into a tourist shop and you say, how much is that? And they tell you the price, which is double or triple what the local Indians will pay for it and what they would give the local Indian. But that double or triple is like 10 times cheaper than it is in the West. So you hear the price and he says, it's 500 rupees. And you're thinking in your mind, this guy's crazy to sell this for 500. In America, it'd be like 5 times the price. And you say, okay, and you give him 500. And then you go back to your apartment or to your hotel and your Indian friend says, how much did you pay for that? And you said, I paid 500. And he says, those only cost 80 rupees. And you think, are you serious? Because 500 is so cheap. He said, yeah, you're a damn cheap Baba. Damn cheap Baba means everywhere you go in India, whatever price they give you, no matter how inflated it is, you think, that's damn cheap. So Prabhupada said, you Westerners are damn cheap, Baba. So everywhere you go, then your Indian friend says, okay, here's how it works. When they see a Westerner coming, they see dollar signs. So whatever price they give you, knock it down 66 and 1/3% because they've knocked it up 300 times. So if it's, well, let's use an even number. If they say it's 600 rupees, it means it's 300. Tell them you'll give them 200. Then they'll say 400. You'll say no, 200. They'll say okay, 300. And you say okay. Then you said, now you know the game. That's just how they do it. When you take a taxi, they don't want to go by the meter because they can charge you more. So they'll say, meter not working. 400 rupees only. Meter not working. Although the meter's working, but if you use the meter, it's like 320. And so you keep going taxi to taxi till you get a taxi. Say, do you use the meter? He said, okay, I'll use the meter. So now you know the game, you know the plan. So before you know it, you just get cheated and you're spending all this money thinking, damn cheap, Baba. Damn cheap. That taxi ride was damn cheap. We had only 400 rupees and we were riding for like an hour. If that were America, it'd be like $50. Once I came back late at night and I arrived in Alachua and it was too late for my wife to pick me up. And I think I got some discount flight for like $30 and then I took a taxi at night to go like 13 miles to my house and he charged me like $50 because it was at night, So the taxi in India only charges you 20. You think, damn cheap, Baba, when the actual price is 10. So now you know the plan, so they can't cheat you. So you play the game. You go, okay, I'll give you 200. 200, no. Okay, 400. 200. 350. 200. Okay, 300 last price. You go, okay, 300. Now you got your price. That's the normal price that he would charge. You know the game. You can play it. So Maya comes, she bamboozles you, confuses you, thinking, Krishna consciousness, it's hard, Why are you sweating it, Take it easy. You're so much in anxiety. You're not Krishna conscious. You got to get up every day. Even you go to bed late, you need to get up and chant your rounds. It's so austere. Try to control your mind. You got to read every day, but you don't really like reading. And then, you got to do this and that. And you got to wear devotional clothes and tilak. And why do we have to do this? And that's all Maya's talking. But now you understand she's going to do that because Prabhupada told you she's going to do that. So you don't buy into it. And if you do, that's called stupid. Maybe that should be the name of this class, the subtitle. That's called stupid. When you know, like you said, it doesn't make any sense. It's supposed to be the opposite. Determined in achieving material. Yeah, I'm more determined in achieving material goals. When everywhere in Prabhupada's books, he's trying to get us to look at material goals and say, meh, big deal. Krishna consciousness, yeah, that's the real big deal. The other goals, nah, whatever, It's like you look at successful people and in the back of your mind you think, I wish I were successful like that. Okay, great. So you're successful like that and then you die. And what do you take with you? Do you take the money? In a few years, even if you're successful, you're forgotten. You're gone. Unless you're like top of the top of the top and you have like some incredible movies, incredible art, incredible books, you're pretty much forgotten. You're just like a name in Wikipedia that, 20 years from now, everyone who's reading Wikipedia never heard you. So that's what you get. That's the grand prize. What's your grand prize for material success after you die? Nothing but your karma. So it makes no sense. So that's how we think. And that's how we think, okay, what makes sense? Be Krishna conscious. Do everything to be Krishna conscious. It's the only thing that makes sense. It's the biggest duh in the universe. I can achieve Krishna in this life. If I achieve material success, I get nothing but the karma. Duh, what do you think I should do? But I always wanted to be a movie star. I always wanted to be a rock star. I always wanted to be this and that. The other thought that Prabhupada gave us, you already were that. You just can't remember. In your last life, or the one before, 6,000 before, you were, the queen on the Amazon, or queen of Egypt, or king of this, or the rock star of that, the movie star of this. That's how we have to think. You already done it. You've done it all. This is the one thing you haven't done, and this is the one thing most worth doing. So that's intelligent. And therefore, I always say, if you want to be Krishna conscious, you have to be intelligent, because if you're not intelligent, you're not going to get it. You have to be somewhat intelligent. And Prabhupada said, he said, not everyone's intelligent enough. You know that joke? It's so funny. You've heard me, a lot of you have heard me tell this, but it's so funny. You could tell this every day. So Prabhupada's going onto a television show. And the host of this show, he's famous for putting down his guests. They come on and he makes jokes with them. And they told Prabhupada, this man's going to do this with you. Prabhupada, I don't think he said anything. So the man says, so what if everyone becomes Krishna conscious? Who's going to grow the food? Because the idea is, y'all become Krishna conscious, you just chant Hare Krishna, you're not going to do anything. Who's going to grow the food? Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? And Prabhupada said, don't worry. There'll always be fools like you who will never become Krishna conscious. Whoa! That man was impressed, because that's what he does. He was up against a tough fighter. So, but as funny as that is, as clever as that is, it's true, 100%, yeah. So Prabhupada said that not everyone's going to be intelligent enough to be Krishna conscious. So we have to think, if I'm in Maya, if Maya is getting me, if Maya, either you're going to manage your life or Maya is going to manage your life. If you're allowing Maya to manage your life, then that's another t-shirt, everyone. Either you're going to manage your life or Maya is going to manage your life. If you're letting Maya manage your life, then what does that mean? What does that mean? It means something's missing up here, some screws are missing, some things need tightening, oiling, the battery needs charging, something's going wrong. I'm not getting the regular oils and lubes reading Prabhupada's books. I'm not getting the tune-ups. I need a tune-up. This is not functioning well. Prabhupada is giving you the whole plan of Maya, and you're letting Maya still manage your life. That's called stupid. You have to be intelligent. So there's no way around this. And if we read Prabhupada's books every day, we'll be intelligent. That's it. There it is. That's the answer. That is the answer I always give. And I think it's helpful for us to think that way. I should think, okay, I know everything, Prabhupada's giving everything, and I'm still running after Maya. How stupid can somebody be? I am so stupid. And then you tell yourself, you go in front of the mirror and you say, Krishna Garjani, don't be stupid. Use your brain. You have everything. Don't let Maya manage your life. You manage your life. Don't let her manage your life. Because if you don't manage your life, she's going to manage it for you in the way she wants to, and she will bamboozle you. And then everything that Prabhupada said, it'll just fade out in the universe. You won't even remember it. And that's dangerous, and that's unfortunate. And that is my answer to that question. Thank you for that question. So Michael Green says, is it Green? No, it's not Green. What's your last? Guerin? It's Michael Guerin. Why did I say Green? Because there's a green background on your photo, that's why. Michael Guerin. It's Guerin, right? How can you tell the difference between being detached and escaping? Because ultimately, if you're escaping, you're not going to end up Krishna conscious. So you have to see by the result in the long term. So sometimes you may not know. If you're honest with yourself, then you'll be able to know when you're escaping. If you're not honest, or your ego is so big, it just can't in any way ever think that you're anything other than the greatest gift to humanity, then yeah, you'll never know where you're at. You'll always think you're high on the mountain when you're not. But if there's a little humility, coupled with a desire to be Krishna conscious, you'll start becoming more self-aware, more self-honest, and more willing to just admit, okay, I need to be more Krishna conscious. I'm not as Krishna conscious as I need. And then you'll depend more on the holy name. And that is another point. That's what's so good about being self-aware. That's what's so good about seeing your problems. If you do it in the right way, your chanting will improve. If you do it in the wrong way, you'll say, what's the use of chanting? I'm so fallen. No, that's the whole reason you should chant, because you're fallen. That's another classic trick of Maya. We realize how fallen we are and we give up. No, that's the point where you take shelter. So if you do it right, when you see how fallen you are, your chanting gets better. When you're self-honest, you realize, okay, I have these attachments, I have these desires. That's when your chanting gets better. If you're not self-honest, like, I'm doing fine. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Yeah, whether I chant good rounds or not, it's all good. I have a son, and he's just like, whatever happens, it's all good. Which is a nice philosophy, except when something happens that isn't good. Right? If it's not good, we have to, do something about it. It's like that joke Prabhupada tells. This man comes to America, or he comes to England from India. And he says, how am I going to go to England? I don't speak English. I said, no problem. It is not a problem. You only know to say three things. Three things only, Prabhu. Yes, no, very good. You say these three, if you know these three things, yes, no, very good, then no problem. Samasya ne. So he goes to England, and one day there's a robbery, and police think he stole because he's in the vicinity. They said, did you steal this? He said, yes. They said, are you going to give it back? No. Then we're going to arrest you, take you to jail. Very good. It's a joke Prabhupada says. So, be careful. So you have to know a little more than yes, no, very good. You have to know where you're at. And if you have that tendency to not face the reality, to not look at yourself clearly, yeah, then escaping is the mechanism, so you don't have to admit who you are. You could think you're great, and then you escape reality, thinking you're someone you're not. Make you feel good. But it feels better actually to know who you are and work on it, and then chant with dependence on Krishna. That's the best thing you can do. That's it. That's everything. It always feels better to be Krishna conscious, right? Okay, we have 4 minutes left. How many more questions do we have? Personal counsel. Yeah, I think every problem any of you ever had, have, or will have, it's answered on my website somewhere. Thing is, if I give too much personal counsel and time, then I'll have to stop sleeping. I mean, sometimes I can give it. And, how do I say this? But I'm more inclined to give it to the devotees who are sacrificing more, because it's kind of like they deserve it. Sometimes I give it to some people and it's like they don't know how to use it, and they don't put it to good use. So, we can talk about it. It seems that what we can do is like group coaching sessions where we have like 6 people, and then we just let you answer your questions. I answer your questions like in a coaching environment. It seems that many people who are joining to spiritual movements tend to do it to run away from problems. Yeah, that's why I did it. Also, internal, emotional, psychological problems. I didn't have any. Thinking that religion itself will solve. Yeah, there's some truth to that. Thinking that religion itself will solve their problems, and they will have to do no extra effort to overcome those problems. And finally, they end up in a trap, not facing with problems, and covering their problems with religion and spirituality. Yeah, it's a fine line, because there is truth to that. Okay, the sun is really shining. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Yeah, the sun is right over there. Setting, that's the west. That's the east. In the morning, I get it here. The best days are cloudy days. We get the best light. Look at that. So, it's a fine line, because there's truth to what you say, and there's truth to taking shelter in Krishna, in religion, and solving your problems. I think the point is there may be more work they have to do that they're not doing. And in the name of just taking shelter, they're avoiding work. I think that's the point you're making. So yeah, that's a problem. In the name of taking shelter, we're avoiding. So, yes, it's definitely a problem. It's like I've seen, it's kind of like you take a woman, she gets married, and she thinks, once I get married, all problems will be solved. Little does she know. That may be true. A lot of her present problems may be solved, but there's also a lot of new problems that she'll have to face. It's a new situation, or potential problems. But the illusion is thinking, well, you just get married and you automatically it's going to solve your problems, or you just get a guru, automatically your problems are solved. Or you just get initiated, automatically your problems are solved. Let's go over here a little. That's worse. Hold on. Too much silence. Try that. Oh, wow. The sun is right there. So, we'll get closer. Maybe that's better. So, look at that. Artistic, huh? How do we get away from that? Is it possible? I don't know. This is like a comedy movie, right? Wherever you go, the problem follows you, huh? Well, there's another way to do it. What if we do it this way? straight this way. No, we're experimenting on all of you. No, that didn't work either. Oh, that's okay. Now you get to see my neat desk. How's that? It's okay. Beautiful. Yeah, so nothing is like guaranteed to work exactly. And it's a bit of, well, it's a bit of an illusion to think, yeah, if I just do this, all problems solved. It's kind of a combination of both. Yeah, if you, let's say you get married, you have a guru, it will solve a lot of problems. It will help you in a lot of ways. But to think I don't have to do anything, I think I have, like you're saying, maybe a psychological problem for over many years, and I become Krishna conscious. Occasionally, it's true. That's all you need to do, and the process takes care of you. But sometimes, no, you have to do more. Correct? Correct. Dun, dun, dun. See Prabhupada there. That's my, where is it? Right there. Sounds Divine Productions. That's my studio. You want to see inside? I'll open the door. Such a beautiful place in there. Can you see? You see inside there. It's hard to see because the door. Hold on. If the door doesn't stay closed, it means the building, that means this office is not level. The door's not staying closed. You can't see really much in there. But there's another room. You can hardly see anything. It's kind of distracting you. Anyway, so let's see if there's any other question. What is the name of the Gayatri book? I'd like to read it. It's by Satchidananda Swami. There's a few out there. This one's by Satchidananda Swami, and maybe it's called the Gayatri book. I don't know. Does anybody know? I can't remember the name of the book, but Gayatri is definitely in the title. And I don't have the book in my office, but I will. If you ask me again, I will take notice of it because I usually read it every day. Isn't japa for the purpose of perfecting yourself seems indispensable and the main part of our sadhana? Yeah, it is the essence of sadhana. There's a beautiful verse, maybe by Jiva Goswami or Sanatana Goswami, about japa, how japa is everything in bhakti, or the holy name is everything in bhakti. Maybe I'll forward it. Someone sent it to me, now I have to remember. Yeah, I remember who sent it. A devotee from Australia sent it. It's beautiful. And the problem is, it's on my phone. So if we're getting a setup where I'm actually going to use my camera, and I can broadcast from my camera, and then I can use my computer for Facebook, and then my phone will be free. And then the camera is just going to look much better. It'll make really good quality. And then I have a lot of times I have things on my phone and I can't. I want to read them to you, but I can't because I think if I go to them, I'm afraid I'll lose you. Does anybody know if I go into my WhatsApp right now, will that take me off Facebook? Or you'll all be waiting there, I think. Should we experiment? At the end of the class, we can experiment. When it's time to leave, I'm going to go to my Facebook, and then I'll come back, and we'll see if I can come back. Group counseling can be very tricky because not everyone is going to be fully open about their challenges because they're afraid they will be judged. But I'm currently going through it there, yeah. But the thing is, a lot of what's going to come out of one person is the problem everybody has. It's called the Gayatri book. Okay, it solves that problem. The Gayatri book. What a name. The Gayatri book. Perfect name, right? The Gayatri book. Confirmed by two devotees. Krishna Priya says, how we overcome pride and low self-esteem. This super common obstacles to develop humility and success. It's going to depend on the individual. Why does your pride exist? And actually, really, is it pride that's the problem, or is it some kind of psychological problem? Sometimes it's not really a spiritual problem. So I could give you a spiritual answer, and it may not solve your problem because the problem is connected with some psychological need. I need to be loved. I need to be appreciated. I was not loved enough when I was young. I was always deprived of affection. I was always put down. So that's going to be a psychological need, which I wouldn't call it pride. I would just call it a need for affection, a need to be noticed, a need to be recognized, to fill myself up emotionally, but not so that I could dominate the universe, not so that I can be number one and the center of attention and outdo all my god sisters and be on, all the pictures with Guru Maharaj and be in all the pictures in his Vyasa Puja book. That kind of thing that's different. So I think you need to distinguish that, because I think a lot of you don't really have the problem of pride. I think it's a psychological thing where you have a need to be recognized or appreciated because you didn't get it when you were younger. So that's my short answer, because as far as overcoming pride from the spiritual point of view and self-esteem, probably I have 50 hours of talks on that. The self-envy series, self-envy, self-compassion, and then the power of humility and self-honesty, that section, and then sprinkled through other things I've taught. So the answers are there, but you have to determine if it's spiritual or not. And then there's look at my SoundCloud for like how your psychology affects your japa. That's very illuminating to see how your psychology may be harming your spirituality, because then that's what you want to work on. And sometimes working on it means you'll have to read books about that problem. If it's low self-esteem or, a certain kind of unhealthy dependency or unhealthy expectations, you may have to read books on that. It's not necessarily a spiritual problem. Or have some counseling or therapy regarding that. Some devotees don't believe in that, but in many cases I've seen that work very quickly, whereas the philosophy wasn't working because the philosophy was not, there wasn't a lack of Krishna consciousness per se, it was more of a psychological problem. And that's why, even though hearing the philosophy didn't seem, I heard all the lectures on humility, but still I have this need for attention. Yeah, it's an emotional need because you never got it when you were young. And so you're just hungry. It's like saying, Krishna Priya, it's like saying, right now you haven't eaten since breakfast, so you're hungry. You say, but Guru Maharaj, I just heard your lecture, and you were talking about how we need to be like the Goswamis and curb our eating and sleeping. And even though I heard the lecture, I'm still hungry. I'd be like, what are you talking about? Of course you're hungry. You haven't eaten all day. No, but I shouldn't be hungry. No, it's not a spiritual problem. Just go eat. It's a physical need you have right now to eat. No, but if I hear do you have any lectures on not eating? Yeah, I have tons of lectures on don't eat more than you need. But that's not going to fill your appetite. So you may have an emotional appetite. You haven't been fed enough. You're hungry for some appreciation because you never got it. You're always put down when you were a kid, or your father never showed you affection. And you're mistaking that to think, well, that's pride when it's not. So that's why if you hear 10,000 lectures on don't criticize, appreciate others, self-esteem, be humble, and they do absolutely nothing for you after you've heard them, you get inspired for 3 days, and you go back to where you normally are, that means it's not a spiritual problem, per se. It means it's obviously a spiritual problem for all of us, but the main problem right now is not spiritual. The main problem right now is material. So if you're hearing, still, I heard 100 lectures that you shouldn't eat too much, and I'm still hungry. Duh, you haven't eaten since breakfast. Anyone would be hungry. Oh, really? I thought if I heard the lectures, I wouldn't be hungry. What does that have to do with not being hungry? as a physical thing. So the same thing. What did it have to do with your emotional needs and your emotional scars and traumas that you went through in this life and so many lifetimes? Someone might say, yeah, well, chanting will heal that to some degree. My point is, it might, but if it doesn't, that means then, you got to go eat something. And if you hear all these lectures on fasting and all of a sudden you're like, I don't feel like eating, fantastic. More power to you. But if you hear them and you still have to eat, then I would say, better go eat. And then once you eat, you can work on, controlling your eating a little more. But you got to eat something. So that is the answer. And Krishna Priya, write that down and make wallpaper out of that answer. Because I think that's the answer for you. Anything that really resonates with you, make wallpaper out of it. And what I mean by wallpaper, write it down, print it out, and put it on your wall. And pretty soon, after, a few months of classes, you'll have wallpaper. Your whole house will be filled with things you need to hear. It doesn't have to come only from me. Anything you need to hear, print it out, put it up, meditate on it. Make a t-shirt. Oh, you want another really good idea? This is such a good idea. And I heard this from, I think Guru Nishta told me. Whatever you want to remember, like whatever quality you want to develop, whatever you want to meditate on, make that your password. So every time you have to log in, or you're going to have a few passwords for different things, every time you log in, that password comes up. Be tolerant. What's your password? Be tolerant 108. Be forgiving 108. What's your password? Appreciate devotees 1008! Exclamation. It's not a good idea. Just remind yourself. Okay, we're going to end here. I promised my daughter 10 minutes ago we were going to go on a japa walk. It's about an hour and a half before sunset. So, I think there's absolutely nothing scheduled for tomorrow. Today, you'll be happy to know, because I didn't give class, I got to work in the morning. I've been working on the final proofing. We had 2 devotees proof my book, Spiritual But Not Religious. I'm going through it. I've gone through about 5 hours today. I start in the morning and we're almost finished, and it's going to go back to the editor. He'll make the final corrections. I proof. They got back and they made suggestions, and which is not necessary if you're translating it. I don't think it matters. You need the final proof, although I can give it to you. So that's what I did. So you should be happy that I did that by not having class in the morning. You can find everything on SoundCloud. The retreat was called Your 3 Relationships, and it's on SoundCloud. Your 3 Relationships, or The 3 Relationships. Just do The 3 Relationships, or Your 3 Relationships, Mahatma Das, and it'll come up. Just Google it, it'll come up. Everything's supposed to be on SoundCloud, and we may even upload the videos. They're not edited, but someone was asking, so. Talking about face problems. Oh, okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go to WhatsApp, okay? And if I disappear now and don't come back, then we know it doesn't work. But if I don't disappear, I'm just going to go to... When I was gone, what happened? Did anything happen? Or did nothing happen? Did it just go on pause for the last 30 seconds? Or could you actually hear me? Broadcast interrupted. Yes. So when I go, that means if I'm going to read something, I need to get it on my computer or broadcast on my computer, then have the phone. I need to do. The reason I don't broadcast on my computer is, for some reason, maybe someone can help me. I have this computer called a Yoga. You see where the camera is? It's right here on the bottom. So if I broadcast on this, aside from the fact that cameras on computers are not as good as on phones, if I broadcast from here, it's like you're going to be looking at me from like I'm looking down at you. You ever see those videos and you're looking up? Basically, you're looking up their nose. It's kind of not attractive. And this is called the Yoga 920. Maybe somebody knows. You can turn it upside down like this. And then the camera will be on top. But whenever I do this, my face is upside down. So otherwise I could just put it like this on my desk. and the camera would be here. But every time I do that, it's upside down. So I'm waiting to get this device sent from China, and it's going to allow me to plug my camera in. Plug my camera in and get a really good camera, and then I can use my computer for Facebook, and then my phone's free. Although I could put what I want to read on my computer, but... So Caesar says he had that problem and he got through professional help. Sometimes that's all you can do. Okay, everyone. Nice talking to you. We did something today on Saturday. Tomorrow's Sunday. On Sunday, God rested. I'm going to finish my book, and then I have to organize about 10 other documents which are going to be sent to people who are looking for a guru and looking for me as their guru also. When they're looking, I'll give them information about guru. So that's been in the making for like 3 yugas. I haven't had time to work on it, and only it's just the way I work. If I can do it in the morning, I'll get it done. So that's on the radar. And also to work on where our recordings, our guided meditations. I'm going to create a Patreon page. That's the plan. It's a membership page. If you're already giving a monthly donation, then you can just like give $1 and get on the Patreon page. And I'm going to put these guided meditations and other things up there. And today I was doing, if you look on Kirtan Sangha Mauritius, I did a kirtan and I sang Shashastika, the new melody, which is really beautiful. So I got inspired maybe to do a whole like CD of Shashastikams in different melodies, Sanskrit and English. And that would go on the Patreon page. And so if you're on Patreon, you go to the page and it says join. You have to give something, at least $1, or you give as much as you want, and then you join the page. And it's a way that I can spend more time in Alachua. The way I could raise money to hire devotees who could help me, and then we could produce more courses and more things to help you. So, Hare Krishna to all of you. Thank you for coming. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The old melody, yeah, we'll do the old melody, but wait till you hear the new melody. It'll grow on you. Different mood. Each melody is a different mood. Okay. Goodbye to all of you. Hare Krishna. We'll miss you. We'll see you Monday. I don't think there's anything going on tomorrow. If there is, it'll be posted. And we love you all. We love you guys, as they say, the YouTubers. Hi guys, we love you. Click like below. Hit the bell for notifications. And if you want to donate, hit the PayPal button. There's a PayPal button on my Facebook. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.